Good morning, friends. It is Seed Starting Saturday, and it's your friend Lisa Mason Ziegler. And thanks for joining me here today. We're gonna have to change things up a little bit now, right? Because this is the first Saturday that I'm not sowing sunflowers. So last Saturday was our last sowing, and I have to tell you that actually it was the Saturday before last. That I planted them out, or Bobo planted them out right before all of the last two trays that we've done together. Planted them out before our little monsoon hurricane rain that just came through. And I just checked them and they look great this morning. So friends, if you're new here, welcome aboard. I meet you here on Saturday mornings to kind of share what's happening in the seed starting world and what's going on here on the farm. So I have a bunch of seedlings here that I am going to be sharing with you. But before we jump into that, I'll give you a little rundown on what we're going to do and have some announcements. So I am totally surrounded in cool flower transplants because of the Hurricane Ian, I guess his name is. We held off planting anything outside because you just never know what's going to happen, right? And so I have some that are creeping up a little bit. I have some that aren't so happy because they aren't planted. So I'm going to show you some of the troubles that you get with those. And so we're just going to have a look at all those cool flowers. And then I'll be kind of narrating and sharing the drama of the morning. And good morning, everybody. The drama here is that my course enrollment, which only happens once a year for 5 days, opened this morning, October 1st of 2022, and our website crashed. There was just so much traffic, and that's never happened before. Y'all, it only has to take you. It's just, who knew the glitches that could happen on a website? Anyway, it has just been fixed. So hats off to our team that just have been working for 3 hours now, feverishly trying to get it back up. So if you were trying to get onto our website and weren't able to, check it out now. Everything is restored and back up. And friends, flower farming is full of lots of excitement, but every kind of business is just so much unexpected stuff. So I am going to be sharing here this morning. If you don't already have a Cool Flowers book, you know about the problem with that right now, right? The publisher had troubles getting restocked because of supply problems. And so Cool Flowers has been out of stock everywhere. Let's see, this is October 1st, since about the first week in September. And we don't expect to have them in our hands until mid-November. What a problem that is. So if that is you, if you're just learning about Cool Flowers, which are cool season hardy annuals, and kind of how to find out when you plant what and when, there are some great resources over on our website. And one such resource that kind of has a link to a bunch of other resources. If you go to thegardenersworkshop.com, go to my blog, which is under resource, go to resources, go to the blog, and then go to the Cool Flowers category in the blog. And there is a blog there called the Cool Season Flower Chronicles. And that actual post has 5 individual 30-minute or less videos over my most frequently asked questions. Well, through the past few years, we have just added at the top of that post all kinds of other resources that I have made related to Cool Flowers. So now is a great time. If you can't get the book, I think you can get Kindle and the ebook. I haven't seen them. I don't know how that works, but you can get it that way. But there are resources. They don't have all the information that's necessarily in the book, but it can really help. Oh, and I see Jessie's on here, and she just posted the link to all those resources. And even if you have the book, you definitely want the resources, because the resources are really all of the frequently asked questions, the things that I just hear over and over again. And I thought this would just be a really perfect time for me to share some, I'm just looking, some of the perfect seedlings to go to the garden, and some of those that are got a little problem. And just about all the problems that we're going to look at is because I've sat on the seedlings a little bit too long most often. And that's a really common question. I mean, that's not just for cool flowers. This is true for any seedling that you have and you're holding it in the tray. This really doesn't matter if it's soil blocked or if it's, in a plug tray. When you let plants sit in a container or in a soil block beyond its time, they All right, I need somebody. All right, friends, if y'all can see and hear me, please let me know. Somebody make a comment. Our power went out and I have to go now and turn my freezer off. So somebody please, oh, we can see it. Okay. So that was really weird. Our power went out. Anyway, let me fix my freezer. All right, friends, I'm coming. You know, we just went through the rain and wind from the hurricane, and there's a lot of trees down and stuff like that, or just debris. And apparently, something happened. They had to turn the power off and back on, and it kind of screwed everything up here. So sorry about that. Anyway, so I forget where we were, but we're going to start right where I think we were. We are going to be looking at some of my seedlings. And as I think I was saying, I better plug my computer in while I'm sitting here. We'll just fall off again. It'll be my fault. That seedlings suffer from a lot of issues from just being left in the tray too long. And I have a couple of examples of that. And all right, my computer's turned on, got power. And if I lose you again, that's what happened is they're fixing people and trying to get them all fixed up. I do want to say before I forget to invite you guys, I'm doing an Instagram live with the Flower Podcast, not on our account, on the Flower Podcast with Scott. And we're going to be talking about this literally is the last harvest for 2022. I mean, my garden is flat after what happened here yesterday. So we'll be going through the harvest and taking a closer look at that at 5 p.m. Eastern time today, October 1st at 5 p.m. And I invite you guys to head over there and check that out when I'm there. So seedlings suffer from a lot of issues from being left in the tray too long. We get a lot of messages from people saying, this is what my seedlings are doing. What do you think? And friends, I can tell you that like 9 out of 10 times, it's that they've just been left in the tray too long. And there's really nothing you can do to fix that besides plant them. And I'm going to show you my status that has, all the leaves always turn red, little phosphorus problem. And so I'm just going to kind of go through and show you some of my seedlings, and then we're going to actually pinch some snapdragons. So I thought I would start it off by showing you some newly born snapdragons. And you can see here that Bobo ran out of seeds. Actually, the seed packet, I think, had 50 seeds in it, and this is 60 blocks. So that's why there's some blank ones right there. But these are just born snapdragons. And what I want to say about cool flowers, and the other question I get 100 times a day here is it too late? Can I still start? Friends, first off, that resource that Jesse posted earlier really addresses a lot of that, but you have more wiggle room with transplants by, pushing the envelope, meaning planting later. It's never good to plant cool flowers earlier, because when you plant too early, the plants grow too big before they go into winter, and that is a major problem. But you can push the envelope of too late, because first off, the most important thing is to get your beds prepared before the ground gets wet and then just never dries out, right? That's the big problem. So getting your beds prepared, because you can plant transplants late. These love cool conditions. They love cool soil. So you can continue to plant them as long as your ground is not frozen. And then if you pop hoops and lightweight row cover, which you can find all of those over at our website, if you pop those on, friends, you're buying yourself like a month backwards in time. And it blocks the wind, it concentrates the heat. And then in addition to that, if you're planting into the Bio 360 film with the black side up, which is what we do, it's just like a little Club Med underneath that row cover. I mean, literally, on the sunny days, 20 degrees outside, you lift that cover up, and those little transplants with the wind blocked, the sunlight, the black film, they're just happy as ever. So with seedlings, you can really push the envelope. And so I am here in 7B, 8A winter hardiness zone. I'm in southeastern Virginia, and I literally live right on the line. And so we can literally pretty much plant almost year round. I don't want to do that. I mean, I want to get the job done and move on, right? But I'm just saying that if you have not started cool flowers, your transplants, you still may have time. That is not the case with direct seeding. Direct seeding means those seeds need some heat to germinate. So trying to do that super late is a problem, and that's what you want to avoid. So that was my snapdragons. I'm going to actually kind of rotate things here. And so I said on one of my little invitations for people to come here and join me today that I'm also going to share the bad stuff, right? Or not the bad stuff, the problems. And this is one of them. This is that heirloom Carnations Dianthus. And I have 7 trays of these. This is the mix, and I'm growing all the solid colors this year, and they all look just like this. And when you have this kind of problem where they're just kind of laying down and wiry and a pain in the neck to plant, I will tell you, Bobo will be losing her mind. The day that we plant these, I'm going to have her do it first thing in the morning, and then she's not going to plant anything else that day because she'll be so worn out. They're just so tangly. Apparently, I mean, I will do this differently next year. This is classically a symptom of low light. And, you know, Dianthus, the Dianthus family, classically, we call it lodging. See how this stem goes straight up and then it laid down and grew straight up this way? So there's actually a bend in it. I'm going to research this, but this is similar to what other Sweet William in the Dianthus family. Dianthus is a huge family of plants. And they all have many different habits, but our Sweet William Dianthus does this. And this is Carnations Dianthus. Same family, they're like cousins. So this is a real problem. And these things happen. It's not that they're dry, that they're and they've been under the same grow light that everybody else has been under. So I am going to try to figure out what the problem with that is. And so, friends, it's like true that even, you know, those of us have been starting seeds forever, decades, still run into problems. Now let's look at some beautiful seedlings. So this isn't this beautiful? These are like the perfect size to go to the garden. This is a Monarda. This is Lambada. And I am sorry to say the seed for this is not available right now. You can get on the wait list on our website for it. This is different than any of the other Monardas. It is so very, very beautiful. And it's a super strong germinator, as you can see. Oh, and it has this nice little fragrance. And this is the perfect size to plant. You can see what size that is. And so if you aren't familiar with soil blocking is the way that we start the majority of our seeds. And that's what's in here. There is 100 little transplants here. And this is like I'm not sure what size this tray is, if it's 5 or 6 inches by about 18 inches long. And 5 clusters of 20 fit in here beautifully. So Lambada, which is in the Cool Flower book. And you can, if you don't know what it looks like and you don't have the book, you can go to our website, thegardenersworkshop.com, and look at it over there on the shop. and see the beautiful, I mean, the blooms are just, they're so different than any of the other Monardas. And I don't grow the other Monardas. Many of them have mildew. And a lot of them are perennial. This is a hardy annual. It will definitely reseed, but the same plant doesn't typically, it can occasionally happen, but you cannot rely on it to live more than a year. So this is what you're shooting for. Now, if we don't get these planted for a week, they're going to start getting a little problem. And then I may actually pinch them, as we're going to do with the snapdragons. Pinching is what I really do to bail me out. And I can already tell you we're going to have to do it because our beds aren't prepared out in the garden. I mean, half of our beds are prepared, I should say that. Our no-till beds, it's not a problem when it's rained like it just rained, 4 inches of rain yesterday. We will pull out, all the crops are down. We'll cut them off at ground level or pull them out, depends on what it is and how it looks. And we can just plant. But we have additional beds that we need to make with the Bio 360, because I do want to tell you this, that we've done a lot of experimenting the last 2 years. I have not been a no-till farmer. I'm a conventional farmer. That means that we till and tear down beds and mow and till and incorporate and build over again. And that's what I've done for all these years and had amazing success. So we've started experimenting with no-till, and my no-till beds, which we do a couple of different things. We'll put down mulch, plant into it, and we'll usually top those beds with a little compost, then put a little bit of bark mulch on top of it, shredded bark, which was from our trees being cut, pruned. And I have to tell you that we've suffered from more issues of drying out problems than we ever have planting into Bio 360 beds. So there's obviously a learning curve. What I'm here to tell you is that we are still continuing to plant into Bio 360. I know a lot of people have reached out saying, hey, I see you're planting into mulch beds. Aren't you using Bio 360? Heck yeah. Those are demonstration beds that we're just kind of experimenting with. But my first go round is not nearly as successful and less care as my bio beds. So we'll be making all those beds. And because that means we have to wait for the soil to dry out to be able to make them, I will probably be pinching some of these. So let's take a look at something else here. So here is more Sweet William, and this tray is pretty perfect. And the reason I have 15 trays like this because I have 15 different Sweet Williams that we're growing this year. Not necessarily different varieties, but solid colors instead of just the mix, right? And I brought this tray over because I wanted to show you, see how there's these seeds right here didn't germinate. Now I see that there's seeds in there. What happened? Who knows, y'all? Who knows? I mean, the rest of the tray, its neighbors right on the other side. Was it too hot? Did it get dried out because I didn't water thoroughly, or whatever happened? And I just want to encourage people to say, stuff happened, y'all. It really, really does. So what is this? This is Sweet William, and it's the variety Sweet. That's the name of the variety, and it's Rose Magic. Rose Magic is that color that is the #1 color that I sell in Sweet William. It's whites and pinks all on the same bloom. I mean, it's like a Mother's Day dream come true for bouquet makers and commercial customers. And we grow that color in Sweet and in the Amazon series, which I think I have one of those too. Amazon is definitely my go-to Dianthus variety for the size of the head and the height. Sweet, this one that I just showed you, definitely can be shorter. And that's why we only fall planting plants that are winter hardy in your winter hardiness zone allows those plants to become so well established that one of the benefits of that is abundance and stem length. and disease and pest resistance. So we will get stems that are so much taller. Another great example of that is I resisted starting Rudbeckia Sahara for years because I kept hearing from so many people, oh my gosh, it is so beautiful, but it is so short. Well, friends, first off, Rudbeckia is hardy to winter hardiness zone 5. And that means a lot of people can plant it in the fall. And when you fall plant Sahara, we had 36-inch stems this year. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. So planting timing really makes a significant difference. And in plants that naturally are a little shorter than what you really want them to be, I think the description of sweet says 20 to 24 inches. Well, anything below 20 inches, I don't plant. I mean, we don't grow that. That's just not suitable. Not only is it not suitable as a cut flower for the general market, it's totally different if you're a specialty grower for event people, which is a very hard road to roll down, y'all. But 20 inches is just not tall enough for the broad market. So we don't grow it. Sweet on a good year gets tall enough. And the reason I keep trying a little bit every year is the colors are awesome. It has coral and it has famously white. White is like the color we really, really want to see. All right. So these are beautiful Sweet Williams. Now, these are doing the very same thing that I just showed you that the Carnation Dianthus is doing. Look how these guys are lodging. Wait a minute. Let me find one that, oh, here's a good one. Look how these guys are lodging. See how that, when I lay it down, there's like an inch laying flat and then it goes up. And all of this is fine. I have not found the solution with this. Almost all my, I mean, we grow a ton of dianthus on this farm through the years. I mean, literally tens of thousands of seedlings. What that creates is just a pain in the butt to plant them. That's the only problem. And when you plant them, you don't necessarily plant it deep to make it stand upright. And so Sweet William is a really big crop for us. And those are some problems that I have experienced with them. Now, this is a crop that a lot of people have trouble with. This is Yarrow. And the problem they have with it, this is the question I get. We'll see y'all if somebody asks this question. Isn't Yarrow a perennial? Well, friends, this is why it is so significant to learn your plant botanical names. There are, just like there's so many different types of dianthus and even Rudbeckias. This is true in Rudbeckias too. There are Rudbeckias and Yarrows that are perennials, meaning that one plant will live from year to year to year. But there are also Yarrows and Rudbeckias that are treated as hardy annuals, because while they will reseed readily and create a new plant for next year, that particular plant typically does not go from year to year to year. And the problem, in addition to, so some people say, well, why don't you just plant it and let it reseed? Well, the problem with that is, first off, as a commercial grower, how do you know where it's going to reseed? You can't plan your production around that, right? So you have to, so if you allow or depend on your Yarrow, Colorado Sunset is our very favorite variety. And it is our favorite variety because it has all these, it's the colors of a sunset, y'all. It has all the different colors in it, right? And if you allow it to reseed, which it'll do, and there is some really I used to use an image when I was doing programs, in-person programs, I used to have a 100-foot bed of Yarrow, and I allowed it to reseed one year, and the whole next bed popped up in Yarrow, okay? Well, 90% of all the Yarrow that bloomed from those reseeded beds was all white, which, yeah, you don't mind having a little bit of white, but I grow Colorado Sunset because of all the beautiful colors. So it's not quite as simple and clear cut as you would think. But there are Yarrows that are perennials, like the Gold Carnation, I think, is one of them. But the Colorado Sunset is not a perennial. And that's why you got to learn a little bit more before you start making plans and planting stuff in your garden, right? So this is Yarrow, and this is the perfect size, again, to plant in your garden. See that? It's about 3 to 5 inches. And you can't really pinch this. So hopefully we'll be able to be planting that before too awful long. All right, so let's look at some of these others. Y'all are going to love this one. I'll tell you what that is. I'm just bringing my trays over closer. I have another problem to show you. Anybody else have this happening? Red vegetation. Wait a minute, y'all. All right, everything else I've shown you. All right, so this is Billy Balls, Craspedia, golden drumstick, whatever you want to call it. This was started August 25th, so this is 5 weeks old. We started a little early this year, all of our seeds, because I'm working on this project that's consuming my life. And I thought we'll just start again if we have to, if they get too big. So I've been really manipulating my seedlings, meaning I haven't been really feeding them like I normally do, trying to hold them back, getting them to grow a little bit, keeping them happy and healthy, but not pushing them. So these are 5 weeks old, right? But normally we would have, I mean, this is the size I'm looking. See how that foliage is a little bit thicker, but you can see that the finger test is they're at the perfect height to be planted. I don't pinch Billy Balls because they don't really send up a central stem. It's just a lot of vegetation, just like Rudbeckia. So Billy Balls is that little yellow ball that is so incredibly wonderful. So these are happy, healthy seedlings. And again, that's 100 seedlings there. And I am going to circle around here in just a moment after we're going to look at the status, then I'm going to pinch some snaps, and then I'm going to look at your, oh, look, here's a katydid. See, these were outside. Little rascal. He just jumped off going somewhere. Y'all, I have to turn the air conditioner back on. The power going off messed everything up in here. Stand by. I'm coming back. Coming back to you. So the air conditioner in this building is a window unit, so it doesn't automatically come back on. All right, I'm getting hot. Classic hurricane weather here. We had torrential downpours all day yesterday, wind blowing, and then today it is hot and steamy, and that's just classic southeastern Virginia. After the hurricane weather. I'm just grateful to have power. Several years ago, I think it was in 2002, that's a long time ago, right? When Isabel blew through here, we were without power for 17 days. 17 days with no air conditioning, friends. We have a generator on our home now, but back then we didn't. Anyway, it was a hot, long, horrible 17 days. So my heart is with all the people that are without power right now. All right, so this is status. And status, if you have seedlings, and this happens, I have seen this happen also on Dianthus. This status and Dianthus are the only two that come to memory that this happens. But when you see these red leaves start to happen, that means they're having a little shortage of phosphorus. Phosphorus is one of the things that when they're growing roots, they really need a heavy dose of. And apparently, and this is my speculation, y'all, this isn't based on super fact that I haven't looked it up. Apparently, status and Sweet William demand more phosphorus than other seedlings do because this occurs every year. Every single year, this happens to my status. And this is because these have actually been in the tray a little bit too long. The minute I plant them out in the garden, it fixes itself. You know, I mean, if you're using weekly food, this may prevent that, the Neptune's harvest like we use. But when you see the red leaves turning, sometimes they even look purple. that's what it's a nutrient deficiency, typically phosphorus. And you can, I mean, look, I've got to show you all this. The roots I haven't done this. I didn't water this particular tray. The trays that I brought all of my seedlings in, they've all been sitting out on the carport for the last week. I just messed one of them up. It's all right. I have a ton. Wait a minute, y'all. I'm trying to pull them apart so I can show you. My seedlings have been sitting out on the carport to get hardened off, and I just needed more light space in my grow room. But I brought everything in yesterday, or actually Thursday. Today's Saturday. Thursday evening, brought everything in so we didn't get blown away. Look at the roots on these babies. Is this not impressive? If this doesn't make you want a soil block, then you shouldn't be a soil blocker. The root system, so these are how old? These are older than the other ones. These say 820. So these are actually a week or two past when I would normally plant them. And look at the roots. Now, if you were looking at, if I pulled a plug out of a cell pack that's this old, it would be totally, completely intertwined. So these are the soil blocks. And let me put this back because I ripped one of the seedlings totally apart. So once I plant those seedlings out in the garden, that nutrient deficiency leaf color will just fix itself. And then here's the last one we're going to look at, and then we're going to cut some snaps right quick. Look at the feverfew, y'all. How's that look? Feverfew is a huge crop for us. I grow however many different ones you see on our website. There's a bunch of trays in there. It's either 5 or 6. And these are we actually could plant these. When were these started? August 30th. So they're just at 4 weeks. They could be planted, but these all are at least a week away. If Bobo and I can make beds on Thursday, seeing as how we're not going to be harvesting flowers, we'll be able to make beds. So the feverfew, and this is Tetra White. And again, if you do the finger test, that's how tall they are. And those are just ready to go to the garden. So I didn't think this through. I don't know how I'm going to show you. Let me figure out what I'm doing here. So here is one of my trays of snapdragons. I have 8 trays like this, y'all. This is 240 snapdragons. Aren't they beautiful? And this is Opus Mix. And I am going to give them a haircut, and I'm going to turn this so y'all can see me better. And so my method of madness, after I finish petting my seedlings, I do this typically after I've watered. That just helps stems to get a little bit more resistant and to become a little bit stronger. And so I just use a pair of, I wonder if that's what I should do. Wait a minute, y'all. Let me find, where's my other box? Here it is. I'm going to lift the tray so you can actually see what I'm doing. There we go. All right. So I typically pinch. Well, while I'm talking to you, I'm going to look at you. My method of madness is always to do 50. If I'm going to pinch, I'm going to pinch 50% of the crop, because that way I get the best of both worlds. Pinching induces branching earlier in the plant's growth. Instead of waiting for you to plant it in the garden and make the harvest cut of that very first central stem, which then tells the plants to make a bunch of branches and to grow up and be strong, you can do that in the tray. Now, I will tell you, I have never done this in a plug tray. I've only done it in soil blocks. And here is my method. Because I now know that these are not going to be planted for at least another week. Oh, I got to show you. Then I'm okay to pinch all these guys, because you don't pinch and then go out and plant them tomorrow. Pinching is stressful. Planting is stressful. You don't want to double dip them on stress, right? So I allow them to recover from pinching. And I think I have a tray. We may have actually pinched these together. We did. Like last week, not last week, before then. But look, see how half of this tray is pinched? And I don't know if you can see this. Those little shoots, which have now popped up right there at the stem, that tells, I don't even have to wait for them to get that big. As soon as I make this pinch, and within a few days, when those little sprouts come out right where I'm making the pinch, that says to me the plant is recovered. And then I'll plant them. But I will tell you, they can actually grow in the tray a bit of time longer after you've pinched them, because you're giving them air space and light space, and it just makes a healthier environment. So I'm going to cut my way to the front, and then you'll be able to see me. And because I know that we have so many snaps and they're going to sit in this tray, I just don't have any problem cutting them right off. So I'm going to cut the width of one cluster. I love cutting, y'all. I mean, look at all this I'm cutting off. So I am making the cut right above the bottom two leaves. And I'm going to cut my way right up to the front so you can see what I'm doing, or what I've done. I'm going to try to anyway. And what happens, oh my goodness, these smell so wonderful. What's going to happen is this just opens up the air, the light, everything. I mean, these guys, I can feel them yawning. Isn't that crazy? This is what happens to you, y'all, when y'all farm full time. I mean, your mind just wanders. And some of these got blown over. You can see not all the stems are super straight, but this will help fix that. So wait a minute. I'm going to show you what I've done here up close. I want to answer your question, so I'm trying to just get this done. And I really do have a lot of these. This being open enrollment time for my course means that I'm doing so many lives, so much stuff, that I don't always have the time to do these things. So let me put you down. So it kind of looks like a hurricane went through here, right? And if you can see, I literally just made the cut right above the two bottom leaves. And I'm going to do half of this tray. And I can go much quicker at this when I'm not talking and thinking about stuff, talking about what's going on. And no, I do not know if you can root these cuttings, but I by no means need to root. I have so many snapdragons. People often ask me that. And I will say that there are some crops that you can root, but it's not always the easiest. Sometimes it's just quicker to start more seeds. So that's, again, something you have to really take a value on. So I'm pinching these. And so the rest of the story on the pinching. So we'll wait 7 to 10 days at least until they recover and show signs of sprouting, which says to me they've recovered from what I've just done. And we will plant them out in the garden. But they can actually sit in this tray for a couple more weeks, actually. And I'll tell you, the way I figured out how to do this was when we had hit a real rainy period and I couldn't plant. I mean, we had tens of thousands of seedlings waiting to be planted. And it rained like for 40 days and 40 nights, right? And I thought, well, what have I got to lose? I'm losing the plants anyway. Why not just, pinch them and see what happens? So this is what it looks like, y'all. And so I've pinched half of the tray. So what does the pinching do? Well, first off, and then during that time that we were in a pickle and we pinched a bunch because we didn't know what else to do, Bobo and whoever was working here with her at that time said that we didn't get them planted for a couple of weeks after pinching, that those were the sturdiest transplants they have ever planted. So we learned a lot about pinching out of that pickle. Um, and so that's what we're looking to do. So the reason I only pinch 50% is I want the best of both worlds. I want that honking first central stem, and then the pinching ones will have more branches. They'll still be great stems, but they're not going to be that honker. Or when you're doing this to warm season tender annuals, you delay. This doesn't really happen when you're fall planting, but when you pinch warm season tender annuals that are going to hit the ground running, and you're trying to get blooms as fast as you can, when you pinch, you delay blooming. So I pinch half. So I get early blooms as well as more blooms. You get twice as much harvest from the same plants when you pinch. So you have to figure out what actually suits your situation. I mean, we grow so much that I'm always looking to up our game. And if you're just joining with us, I just want to again invite everybody. I'll be this afternoon. If you see all this harvest behind me, I mean, there's some cool stuff back there, y'all. I'll be going through this. This is the last harvest for us for 2022, based on how my garden looks now. It got flattened by the hurricane, rain, and wind yesterday. So I'll be taking us through that. I will be on the Flower Podcast's Instagram Live at 5 p.m. on October 1st with Scott, going through the 411 on all these different flowers, which are all grown from seed. I think that's perhaps one of the things that is most surprising to people, especially, my customers that I've had for over 20 years, our commercial customers, can attest to it. I mean, we sold tons of flowers each week. When we were in high production, 10 to 15,000 stems a week for 5 months out of the year. And I typically grow pretty much everything from seed, y'all. This time of the year, all those beautiful images you're seeing of dahlias, and they are scrumptious, aren't they? But I am here to tell you that you do not have to grow those types of crops to be a successful flower farmer. I grew dahlias for several years. I used to grow tulips. I used to grow lilies. I used to grow some perennials, and I even grew some woodies. I still grow lots of hydrangeas. But I found that my niche for the highest profit and the highest margins was to grow from seed. And it was also a way for me to produce flowers that my customers wanted every single week. It wasn't specialty stuff like for events and weddings and that type of stuff. So I invite you to check out my course if you haven't already. So the name of my course is Flower Farming School Online, The Basics, Annual Crops, Marketing, and More. And we had a website crash this morning. We were so overwhelmed with traffic, but it's all fixed now. So I invite you to check it out, and I hope to see you guys then. Now let's take a look at your questions here, and I'll get through as many of them as I actually can. But what I want to tell you about pension is it can save your butt. It can buy you time. And on other reasons is you get more than twice as many stems. When I pinch Lisianthus, y'all, oh my gosh, Lisianthus. We pinched Lisianthus years ago. We didn't pinch it. Mother Nature pinched it. We had a cold dip down to low 20s, and it pinched back our Lisianthus to basically we thought they were all dead, but they weren't. We got 4 honking stems off of every Lisianthus plant. It was like the craziest harvest ever. So pinching has a lot of good stuff in it. But I find that I can pinch in the tray with soil blocks as long as I treat them properly, allow them to recover, and then plant them out in the garden. And you're ahead of the game. We're looking always, I'm all about the bottom line, y'all. Quickest, fastest, least expensive way to do everything. And I love to garden. I want to farm. I want to do it with all those things I just said. And that's why I do it this way that I'm doing it. And I invite you to check it out. All right. So first off, I don't know if there's going to be 20 minutes of blank time when the power was off here. So Dry Dock Flower Farm. Hi, watching from our flower farmer's market. We have no power, but grateful for the building we are in. For some reason, I cannot post my sunflower today. So that is the other thing, friends. If you see people posting the little sunflower emoji, those are people identifying themselves as our students. And if you're wondering about our courses, they're the people to ask. Don't take my word for it. We had a great podcast that went out this morning I interviewed Andy Thacker from Montana. And then I'm doing another one. I have them every day this week until the course enrollment closes. So please reach out to our students and ask them what they think. Friends, I will tell you this. Our courses are not like watching TV. It is not seeing tons of this kind of stuff and beautifulness. It is information. It is how to do things. I mean, and if that's what you want, our courses are for you. People that have actually done it successfully. And I just totally and completely love to teach, if y'all haven't noticed that. So I see that everybody is talking about that the power was out. All right. So Yvonne is saying, we have no lights this morning at the market. It's very cold, but they just came on while we were here. So there's a lot of people on the East Coast that are in dire straits. I'm so grateful to not, I mean, my garden's flat, but I can take that. That kind of takes away. Bobo and I stood and stared last week and said, all right, what are we going to pull out to get ready for cool flowers? I mean, I have the same problem y'all do, friends, but no longer do we have that problem. We know that everything comes out now. All right. All right. So there's where I came back on. Sorry about all that mess, y'all. All right. So everybody was helping me with that. All right. Facebook user, how did you get at least that far in germination? I would almost guess that came on for snapdragons. Snapdragons and celosia. Snapdragons is a cool season. Celosia is a warm season. Both of them, I hear a lot of challenges from people about getting them to germinate. And it's really about their relative temperature. Snaps like it coolish, celosia warm, but they're surface sown as so many flower seeds are. And so they need light to germinate. But in addition to light, they need lots of oxygen. And that's why it's so important to surface sow them. Bobo firmly seats the seed of snapdragons on the surface of the blocks. And then the blocks are placed on a seedling heat mat that actually has a cookie cooling rack sitting on the heat mat. What that cool flowers or cool season hardy annuals definitely needed a smidgen cooler than warm season stuff does, but they still need consistent warmth. And so by putting that cookie cooling rack, the little racks you put cookies on, creates an airspace, and that airspace cools it down just a smidge, but it still produces consistent 24/7 warmth. So we put them on those racks, and then we lay the wide weave burlap. We just literally lay it across the top of those blocks. So you can find that wide weave burlap over on our website if you want to get some, or if you need to know what it looks like. But the wide weave allows air, but it doesn't trap moisture all the time, which induces dampening off problems and fungus potentially. So that's how we do it. And as you can see, we get really great germination. All right. Hello, Alaska. Blinded by the light. Yes. So 8B Florida still has time to direct seed. For sure. We have not direct seeded here. I mean, my optimal 6 to 8 weeks before my first frost is right now. So that will be the first beds that we actually tackle, is that I will get all my direct seeded seeds in. And then, I mean, if I have to make a choice to triage, but yeah, we'll make the beds and then I'll direct seed. That'll all happen in one day. So that works out really well. So Susan says, please talk about direct sowing bells of Ireland. Bells of Ireland, the most coveted flower in the world, I think. Everybody wants to grow them. We store all of our cool flower seeds in the freezer. According to the right way to store them. We have a great blog on our website called Storing Seeds Longer, which talks about how you use desiccants and all that stuff. So we store them in the freezer and we bring them out, and you have to go through the process that's recommended in that blog. And we then pop them out of the freezer, wait, that's 2 days to let them get the condensation absorbed. Then we open the package, and then I soak my Bells of Ireland seeds. Bells of Ireland are like little rocks. And if you think about that little teeny sprout that's inside that seed has to push through that hard outer shell. Think of an egg, right? Well, little baby chickens have a beak, right? Well, seedlings don't. And the way that they can push through is by softening that outer shell. So we find that soaking those seeds, I have been known to soak them for days, but you don't need that. Just overnight is sufficient. And then we sow them. And honest to goodness, I don't remember whether it gets covered with soil or not. If it needs light, you don't cover it. If it does need light, you cover it. I don't remember. I literally take my Cool Flower book out to the garden when I'm direct sowing. But soaking them really makes it well, because here's the bottom line, friends. Nobody waters enough for direct seeding. That's why we do so little direct seeding. We only direct sow a handful of stuff, maybe a few more than a handful now. Because you have to keep that seed bed really moist for that whole process to happen. So you have to water daily, and I pre-soak the seeds. And I see we have lots of sunflowers, that emojis that are on here. And so thank you all for reaching out about the course. Can you pinch back the Carnation Dianthus? Kim, I may pinch a couple of them, but I'll tell you, my experience with those carnations is they are so dadgum branchy to begin with that I'm almost afraid to pinch them. That means there'll be even more branches, and it makes them a tangly mess growing in the garden. So I am not basically pinching them. I have to experiment with them. I've only been growing them again for about 3 years, and I haven't focused enough on them. We're going to, though. So will this viewing be available later? It keeps breaking up for me. Yes, Ashley, it'll be on YouTube. When soil blocking Sweet William, you do not cover. And again, I'm being totally honest. I have to read the instructions on the seed packet or in the Cool Flower book. When you mean cover, you mean with soil. I'd have to look to see if it's supposed to be covered or not. I do not trust my memory for anything. But yeah. Emily Dodson, I love how honest and straightforward you are. You know, Emily, it's so funny you say that, because I think people either love me or don't like me for that. So that is, if you want the 411, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I'm your girl. And, you know, I posted on social media this morning about that if you need an encourager, I'm your girl. You know, my husband was right there with me, rubbing my back and pushing me easily along to start my flower farm 25 years ago. And if it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. And if you need that encourager, that's what my course is all about. I mean, that's the biggest benefit, is building your confidence with the right information and some factual information. I mean, sometimes it's not. I can still remember somebody whose name I won't say because y'all may all know her. She said to me, you know, I had no idea how much time I was wasting every day. I have some basic exercises that you sit down and do, and it's like, I would have never thought to have done that. Your encouragement to actually, the fact that you did that made me do it. And that's it, friends. I mean, sometimes you just need your friend to say, go ahead and try it. What the heck? So that's what Flower Farming School is all about. And I want to say this about any of our big courses. You know, our big school courses are You get them over 6 weeks. You are never going to be able to take it all in. We have developed this tool into a tool that you can go back a year from now, 2 years from now, and search for whatever you're facing at that point in time as your business develops and grows. Because let me tell you something, what is hot on your plate today is not what's going to be hot on your plate next year. You're going to have a whole new set of problems and challenges. And that's what we have designed Flower Farming School for. So you're going to say, I don't even need to hear about that. Why is she talking about that now? You don't need it today, but I can almost promise you, you're going to need it in the future. And anyway, so I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole anymore. Lisa. My entire tray of Cherokee Sunset Rudbeckia hasn't germinated after 10 days when other have. Should I dump them and start over? I wouldn't dump them. I would set them aside. I'd put them in a cooler spot and start over again. 10 days is not very long, though. Sometimes Rudbeckias can be a problem, and I find that most often we typically do Rudbeckias on the surface of the soil blocks, but almost always it's temperature related, almost always. So just if it's been, I would wait another week and then start it, because our temperatures change in our room and the amount of sunlight during the day, which heats our room up some. Yvonne says, yes, she has red on her status too. So just totally get them in the ground, y'all. I have so much status. We have so many transplants here, y'all. You would think I was selling, but I was growing for production again. My apologies if this has been asked before, but is it too late to direct sow or start seeds for hardy annuals in zone 8? No, in zone 8, and it's really not about your zones, y'all. Your zone tells you what you can plant in the fall. If something is winter hardy in your zone, it can be fall planted. It's your frost dates that actually tell you when you actually plant. So the target, the perfect world is 6 to 8 weeks before your first expected historical frost date. But I would say in zone 8, you are still good to go. And I'm seeing so many sunflowers off, y'all, that I just love so much that people want to represent our classes and identify themselves. Do you trim your feverfew? So if you're asking if I pinch feverfew, no, I do not. Typically, feverfew doesn't have, by the time we plant it anyway, it doesn't have a central stem. Facebook viewer, I'm jealous of your snaps. I just want some to germinate. If you're having germination issues with snaps across different varieties, there is something in your setup that is not right. Whether you're watering too much and they're soggy all the time, the temperature, you're not sowing them on the surface, So you have got to just literally take a step back and read with an open mind. I can remember the first time that I started learning about seed starting and learned about soil blocking. And it's like, holy cow, this is so much simpler. And I just literally was obsessive about trying to follow the instructions. I mean, it's all about air temperature, light, and not overwatering, and not then sowing the seed either under the soil surface or not, which of course snaps are on the surface. So D is asking, so snapdragons can survive cold weather. Snapdragons are winter hardy to winter hardiness zone 5. Zone 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10 should definitely be fall planting. And if you don't know your winter hardiness zone, put that in a search engine, winter hardiness zone and your zip code, and that will tell you. Somebody saying, I have had luck rooting snaps after pinching, but this is my first year planting in the fall. I may experiment and see what happens. That sounds awesome. I know you discussed planting quantities to plant in your course. Please tell what chapter where they're located. I would have to go in and look myself. So if you go, Kim, to the syllabus is time-stamped, and you can go in and search that. So sorry, you ought to send an email to the office. If you can't find it through the syllabus, send an email to the office and somebody can help you with that. All right, I'm just looking here. So Yvonne says, yes, check out the course. It will change your life. I'm telling you, friends, if you are a struggling flower farmer, meaning you're in year 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and you still just can't seem to figure it out, get ahead, have a life, figure out how to sell, to grow, it will help you find your way. There is so much difference between gardening and commercial growing. I mean, the chore, most people are doing so many things that don't even need to be done, and they're sucking the life out of your days when you should be doing much more important things. So, give that a whirl. All right. Geneva Fairchild, invest in yourself, take the course, you won't regret it. Thank you for that. So Kathy's flower, sometimes they don't come. How many weeks late can I direct sow if row covering? It really depends on your conditions, but what you need to keep in mind, for seeds to actually germinate, they need warmth during the day, at least. So if it's already 30 degrees where you are, it's going to be really hard, really, really difficult. I love the Seed Starting Saturday session today. Looking at your transplants and you're sharing the good and the bad is very helpful. You are so welcome. Thank you for everything you do. I'm so blessed and I found your channel. You inspired me greatly. And y'all, I'll have to tell you this, that I mentioned earlier that our website has never crashed. We were so overwhelmed with traffic, with a connection glitch with an email that went out. It made our website crash on the morning of the launch of my course. I was so distraught over that. And then when this went dead, when we lost power at what was it, 11:10 or something, I was really distraught over that. And thank you for y'all hanging out and coming back and being here. That was really, really helpful. So I am using burlap instead of domes. What am I doing wrong? If seeds aren't coming off, they have helmet heads. I have helmet heads too occasionally. Helmet heads means that the seed is holding on to the stem and there's not enough moisture. I typically, and I'll tell you, I see that in specific varieties of some of the different, like I've had Madam Butterfly snapdragons are really bad for that, but none of the others are. They all start at the same time, get the same treatment, right? Misting will definitely help that. Should snap seeds be put on the warming mat? Yes, the way I just described it with the cookie cooling rack. All right. And then, Josie said, thanks so much for offering 2 payments for your course. I cannot wait. So friends, if you don't want to hear about my course, leave now. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about it and then I have to get off here. So the course is only offered once a year for 5 days. Today's the first day. You can find it over at thegardenersworkshop.com. And the course is $595. And you know what? When I'm looking to spend a lot of money on my business, and $595 is a lot of money, I think, what do I have to do to make that money? Will I learn something to help me recoup that money? Friends, $595 is 2 subscriptions, 2 weekends at the farmer's market. If it helps you to grow more flowers, sell more flowers, you're going to recoup that money in no time. So you're welcome, Josie. It's definitely my pleasure for us to be able to do that. The course is 6 weeks long, and if you aren't familiar with online courses, when you purchase one of our courses, you have access to it for life. As long as there's internet and you have access to a device, you can log into your library and go to your library, and the course is right there. You can watch it as many times as you want. My course is so deep in resources, it's crazy, because we've added bonuses. And I'll tell you this, what a lot of people don't know, and my students may or may not know this, we added a new tool to my course last year, and it is the Cool Flowers Field Growers Report. It is an interactive tool that you can go in there and actually see other people's posts in there about their experience based on the flower, the zone, and what they did. Meaning that if there are new cool flowers, there's new cool flowers that we've learned about, people are posting in there, hey, I live in zone 6. I planted XYZ in the fall in my zone and it did great. Or total fail. And that is a part of my course. That's the only place you'll find that. But there's additional bonuses. When I find something that I need to add to my course, I add it in. So it's pretty dadgum awesome, y'all. I just wished I'd have had it 25 years ago. And so I just really encourage anybody that's struggling, because here's the bottom line, friends. You don't know what you don't know. And, I have a team of 14 staff members now here at the Gardener's Workshop. And that is people that are working on our online course platform, helping support and take care of people, to our warehouse, where is our fulfillment center. And then there's Bobo and I here on the farm. And what I have definitely learned is the more I invest in me and gaining knowledge, the bigger my world becomes. You just don't know what you don't know. And I just want to say, if you're a struggling flower farmer, if you're dreaming of becoming a flower farmer, my course can help you. I tell you right from the get-go, I literally started in my backyard. I literally still grow. My backyard has gotten a little bit bigger. Now I have 2.5 acres. But when I first started, I was literally on less than 1.25 acres. And I grew a viable business, and you can too. And that's what we're all about, helping you. So friends, Fran, if this is your first seed starting Saturday, I'm glad you're here. I try to do this as long as possible, as long as we're starting seeds. And friends, I also invite you to join me tonight at 5 p.m. on the Flower Podcast's Instagram. We're doing a live, and tonight we're going through all this harvest that you see behind me. And so we're getting really imaginative. This is the last harvest of 2022. My garden is flat now after the hurricane. So it's a really pretty special night. And so, Fran, welcome aboard. And if you've never visited our website, thegardenersworkshop.com, check it out. Tons of resources, and it'll be really pretty awesome. And Kim says, TGW course that Lisa gives is something that I still, reference 3 years later. Totally and completely love hearing that, Kim. Thank you so much. All right, friends, I'm going to carry all my seedlings back outside. I think our weather is going to be good now. Thanks for joining me. Check out the Gardener's Workshop. Get my phone app, y'all, and meet me every Friday for our live shopping show. We have so many ways to support you, and we appreciate it. All of the free content that we offer you is made possible through the Gardener's Workshop, through the courses and our online store. So when it comes time that you feel you need education or seeds, tools, or supplies, or my books, we appreciate your business, because that's what makes the Field and Garden podcast available. That's what makes this available. That's what funds all this. So thank you. And thank you. Oh my gosh, Wanda, I just love you. Wanda is like me. She's such a business girl. And the courses are tax deductible once you become a business, which is the whole first week of flower farming school, is the crap that you don't want to do, y'all. I shouldn't have said that. That was a bad word. Is the things that you don't want to do. Figuring out sales tax. Do you have to have license? How do you get insurance? All of that stuff that worries us, get it done and get it out of the way. All right, friends, I am out of here. And head over to the Gardener's Workshop, and we will see. I hope to see you tonight at 5 o'clock. Tomorrow I'm live somewhere. I'm sure Jesse will post it on here. Tomorrow I'm interviewing a student every day this week. And if you need testimonials, we've got them coming to you, friends. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Ciao.